Welcome to the Featured Anime Podcast. I'm your host, Jack.
And I'm Rick.
And today we are talking about No Game, No Life, Zero, which is the movie and also at the same time a prequel to the series No Game, No Life. It came out in 2017. Producers for it were Frontier Works, Movic, ATX, and Kadokawa with the studio of MadHouse. Genres were game, supernatural, drama, romance, and fantasy.
Yeah, for me, it was kind of like a sequel slash prequel because the story was about the prequel, but it looked like it happened during a sequel, like after the anime was originally finished. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it did. And at the same time, it's kind of giving you the hint that there will be other series possibly later on down the line.
Hopefully. Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I saw that and I got hope that like, I'm glad I didn't watch that when it first came out because I would have been expecting a season 2 this come around.
Yeah. And it came out in 2017, so it's about 3 years old. What I really feel this really helps tie in the total events for everything all together from the series and the movie. And the main characters, Shui, Riku, who are the two main protagonists, you can argue that Sora and Shiro are actually the reincarnation of them.
Oh, I didn't realize there was an argument to be made for that. I thought that was assumed.
I'm just saying, you never know. People are weird. I saw it the first time and I assumed that was the case, but hey, you never know. Now,
true.
No Game, No Life, it really is a great series and it's very comedic. This is very, very serious and it does not pull the punches even from the very beginning.
Seriously though, I think I was watching it with my significant other and I was like, this is a little bit dark. Like in the first 8 minutes, the main character goes, "Hey, this is an order. You got to go die." And without hesitation, just straight up, "Okay, take care of my kid for me." And I realized it was a necessary decision. And I paused the movie. I'm like, "Hey, this is not how you get someone to like the main character."
Yeah.
And she goes, "Well, no, he's obviously the bad guy." I go, "No, he's the good guy. He made a decision that it's very difficult. This is what a good leader does. This is kind of required for the times." And she goes, "I still don't like him."
Yeah. And
that's understandable.
And they did a great job too of just showing how cold and heartless his eyes are and the gradual progression all the way through it. It also finally gives you some understanding as to how the rules actually came to be and how the god of games became the quote-unquote one true god, how he became the ruler over the world. This is a great story and background to help fill in all those questions that I had.
Well, see, the anime originally said that the only reason he became number one is because he kind of sat out and everyone just self-destructed. I much prefer this story over that one.
Well, they never specified it in the series, in all honesty. They never specified how he won. They just said he came in and took it, not when everyone self-destructed, but overall he had a prime opportunity to become the one true god, and he took it. Or rather, it was given to him.
Yeah, I might have to rewatch that anime. I totally will. I have no problem doing that. But I might be inferring a lot more than I remember, but I thought it was stated that he took it as a result of being the only one left.
No, because all the gods are still there, and they never specified that all of them were killed off.
Yeah, you got a point. But so the way that this whole thing comes up, I like it. I like it a lot. And it was done beautifully, very, very graphically and morbidly, but beautifully nonetheless. What did you think about it? Like, I thought in it's kind of hard to find the words, because in the first 10 minutes, it just gives you such a roller coaster.
It does. And I feel it's a really great story. It like I was saying, it really helps tie in a lot of that information that I was really craving and wanting to know. And with it starting off with you being introduced to Riku and how he's maneuvering around and the kind of hard decisions that he has to make, but at the same time, after he comes back and he has to break to the daughter of the guy who he sentenced to death, he tells her, "Hey, your dad's gone, and because I ordered him to die, he's not coming back." And then at the same time, while he's in that room, in his room or office, you hear him cry and just be overwhelmed with sadness and anger about the decision he had to make and his mournfulness at that too.
I thought he was just frustrated with how pathetically weak he was in the situation.
Yeah, which ties into with him being mournful over it.
It definitely does, but I mean, it brings it to a whole new understanding for me that he's not mad because of the decision. He's mad that he was weak enough that he couldn't find another decision.
Yeah. And you also have to understand that the world they're in, humans, basically are thought of to be extinct or completely gone because they can't use any magic and they are the absolute weakest amongst all the other races. And in fact, Ex Machina, a machine who was trying to discover and find out about the human heart and the emotions and what drives them to try and understand them better, ended up being cut off from basically the hive mind, so to speak, because they're all supposed to be connected together to learn about humans and their hearts. And granted, they don't introduce Shuai in the most
elegant
way. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, the way that I understood it, so an ex machina was essentially rejected from the hive as being deficient or as being
found to have an error because of her want to try and understand it.
Yeah, and when she was told to forget about it, she apparently the machine said that she couldn't, and she was going to go forth with this. And because she had a form of individuality right there, they're like, "Hey, that's not what we're about. You need to be gone from our presence." And I thought it kind of the movie itself had a feel of tension, I would say, through about 70% of the film. And it was a roller coaster where you'd get super, super tension and a nice relief, super, super tension and a nice relief. And the last 30 minutes, I would say, just straight tension to the point where my significant other was like, "Hey, this is not fun for me anymore. I'm getting stressed out watching this. When are they going to end it?" And I'm like, "Well, it's a movie. They're going to end it when they end it." And yeah, and I would kind of agree. The tension was brought to a point where if you're not too invested while watching it, it's a nice attention grabber. But if you typically get into movies a little too much, it might be a bit much for your, I don't know, your emotional well-being.
Yeah, no, this definitely, I agree with you there. It definitely was an emotional roller coaster all the way through. Another thing that really helps you understand what's going on is when Riku finally comes to a understanding with Shuai, because Shuai is so infatuated with him and wanting to understand, Riku actually starts, and you can see it in his eyes when the two of them are conversing and being together, with her constant trying to understand and push on him. You can see his eyes start to soften, and they're not hardened or heartless anymore. They eventually get to a point to where, you know, he finally feels and he's happy, and he actually even proposes to Shuai, and she tells him no. like wholeheartedly, and you have a little bit of comedy right there, but
Well, I want your opinion on that because I was actually on my drive home talking to, again, my significant other about this particular scenario, this scene, and she goes, "That was so out of place and so awkward. I didn't like it." And I thought I liked it. I explained that to me, that was him showing the irrationale of humanity, I think is what they're called there.
yeah,
Uh, and that the reason they survived as long as they have, and the reason they have persisted as an anomaly to the numbers, essentially, was that erratic, I guess, unknown, which is part of what the heart or what Shui was trying to research. The heart was the difference.
yeah,
Going against your more baser instinct and instead going with what the bigger picture should be.
yeah. At the same time, it also really shows that, it doesn't matter the background or who you are or anything like that. It shows that love will find a way to be no matter what. It doesn't matter if you're a machine or not. This showed that they had a relationship with each other and they loved each other. And all Riku had to do was to help Shui gain a heart, was simply say, it doesn't matter to me what you are. To me, you will always be Shui and you will be the love of my life. Everything else doesn't matter to me.
Yeah. And it sounds corny when you say it.
It does.
I don't want to take anything away, but in the context of the scene, it was beautiful.
It was a great scene. And when you really tie in how Sora and Shiro are in the series,
it makes perfect sense.
It does. It makes absolute perfect sense on why those two need to be together and why Shui and Riku are the way they are and how Sora and Shiro are the way they are. Because it's basically a carbon copy of each other.
Yeah, the reincarnations. That's my argument for that. But what I thought was quite interesting, honestly, as an outsider, as an observer watching it's kind of weak storytelling. But at the very beginning, when our main character, his village is destroyed or his town is destroyed, Shui shows up and she sees him being the only one to have survived complete city destruction. And as the observer, you see him playing a game which you assume to be Tet, but of course Tet is shadowed and obscured. But you see him playing, and the only reason he survived is because Tet covered his body, be it intentional or unintentional, acted as a shield from the mass explosion that took out the city. And you see Shui show up, and that's, I think, where the issue became, where she couldn't stay with the hive mind anymore, because she witnessed a very weak, non-magical human, or human, whatever you'd like to say, survive this total blast for no reason. Like that's where I take that from. Do you agree or no?
I would have to agree. Mainly because they only show Riku being the only one that actually survived from a stupid, powerful explosion like that. I mean, there really is no other way to explain how he survived something like that.
Well, actually, if that's the case, Tet, being a god and all, granted the god of games, wouldn't that be kind of cool to think that Tet set this all in motion?
Well, for him, everything is a game, so maybe.
I mean, that'd be kind of cool. I'm going to save this one person, and they're going to be my king piece, or queen, however you'd like to place it, my queen piece on the board, and they're going to rule it all and change everything. One of the things that I thought humanized our main character was that he remembered every name of everyone that he sent off to the trenches.
Yeah. Every person that he ordered to die, which was like 48 people total, he remembered every single name. And when Shui was talking to him and basically unintentionally saying something insensitive to him, Riku recites every single name with tears in his eyes, crying over the deaths again.
And the way the voice actor in the English version, I didn't watch it in the Japanese version, in the Japanese subtitles, but in the English version, English dub, you could almost feel pain listening to this. It was very, very well done. And you just felt like these names were seared into his soul.
Yeah. And I've seen it both ways. And both ways, the voice actor, top notch. Especially when it comes to that scene when he's reciting every single name. They both, in both English and Japanese, did not skimp.
I'm glad. Very, very glad. Hopefully that means, stepping away from this and judging the industry on a whole. Hopefully this means that they'll put more money and more effort into creating a wider range of character profiles, because I'm personally tired of seeing the same 15 people dubbing.
Yeah. But at the same time, if they do a great job, they do a great job.
Yeah. Well, let's be honest. If I originally watched Avatar: The Last Airbender, and the prince is teenage Goku, the same voice actor, I could not get past that. So that's just me. That's probably just something that I couldn't get over.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah. Either way, that's just a side note, but I think it'll be good for the industry. And if it is good for the industry, then hopefully that means they'll have more quality coming forward.
Yeah. One of the interesting things about this is when Riku and Shuai actually develop basically a ghost squad of people, and because of how Riku is, he was basically, when he was asking for volunteers and said anyone that doesn't want to go out there and do these things, leave now. But basically he developed a shadow or ghost information network and exchanging information with species to species and doing everything that he can to try and make sure that he could drive all the other species to face off each other away from the humans. And he successfully does this with his team. He learns that the elves and the dwarves both have weapons that can completely annihilate or destroy each other. And
the world almost.
Basically. And then you have the other race, the Frugal, and they basically have a power to be able to do the exact same thing, which dwarfs the other two powers or their technology to be able to do something like that. And he actually, with the help of Shuai, develops a plan to be able to force them into a position where they would have to use this, and at the same time force the key, basically the one object that would allow the one true God to be the true God, to appear.
Now, the thing that made me not necessarily question everything, but the thing that made me very curious is their interpretation of the war. And for some reason, the Ex Machina knew all about why the war was even there to begin with. And it was simply a game of who's the strongest. If you've got all these gods who created all these beings and they all are trying to vie for the, number one spot, if they don't kill everybody else off, they can't be listed as the one true God, which makes no sense to me.
Well, what they said was the mentality behind it was not that they want to kill all of them off. They just want to kill one god off, and it doesn't matter which one, which would edge them up above in terms of power to make the key appear or this article appear. And so that's why these wars were going on, not because the gods were fighting each other, but because they were wanting their respective races to be able to actually fight, and with that be able to kill the god of that race.
Okay. I mean, I guess that makes sense. But I thought it was quite ingenious how he was able to be like, all we have to do is just create something stronger than everybody else. And then apparently the Ex Machina are able to replicate these spells. So if you got these super omega spells all together at one point in time, it would make that one seat appear, the one thing appear that would identify the greatest god.
Basically,
and I was a gamble, as you would in a game, but genius nonetheless.
Oh yeah. And it's not that they could replicate it at full potency. They can replicate it themselves at like 10%, I believe is what Shui said. But
that was her specifically.
Yeah. But also, even if it wasn't just her specifically, even if you had the other ones that mirrored that, when you have over 100 of them together, it doesn't matter if it's just 10%. It's 10% times 100 times 200 times 300. Oh,
true. Yeah, I thought that last scene was kind of cool where she was fighting a Frugal, and the Frugal are basically angels, and the angels crazy powerful.
This is also where you get reacquainted with Jibril.
Jibril, yeah.
So she was there even at the very beginning when the god of games actually took power.
Scary to think of that, huh?
Yeah, stupid old.
But don't bring that up to her face, because she's not one to like people saying how old she is.
Yeah.
Oh man.
But yeah, it was very unique. It was very very tastefully done, especially with how Shui actually ended up dying. It was that just like that hit me right in the feels.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I teared up a bit. Maybe it's because I'm getting older, I'm getting more sensitive to this stuff. But it was just I was like, no, don't die, even though I knew what was gonna happen. Like to be reincarnated, you gotta die. I mean, there's just no way around it.
Yeah.
And it was one of those fulfilling deaths.
Yeah.
Where you're like, I'm glad you were able to not just sacrifice, but sacrifice with a purpose.
Yeah.
And the way that it happened, Shui was going through the rules, which the rules that they made were different than the rules in the anime. The rules they made were essentially don't kill, don't die. And the way that Shui was able to justify her death was a tool can't die so long as a tool is useful when it breaks.
Yeah, it's not that the rules in the movie were different from the game or from the series. It's that they were different rules created by Riku and not by Tet. And
Fair.
At the end, Tet creates the rules that we all know from the series.
That's fair.
So, it would only make sense that it is a different set of rules.
I suppose you have a point. I just thought it was really awesome regardless.
Yeah, it was really good. I actually highly recommend it. I would recommend watching this. Like,
even if you were not a fan of the show, this is something I would 100%, because the movie it's a standalone. It's nice. But it's something I honestly wish I saw sooner. I'm happy it took me this long to watch it, so I'm not in the throes of, I can't wait for season 2. But I'm glad I watched it.
Yeah,
because it's a feel-good movie, and because of the roller coaster of emotion that it goes through, it makes you happy to be alive, I guess would be a good way to put that's what I walked away with. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And to help clarify what the rules we're talking about are. So Riku created the 6 pledges. It's number 1, you must not kill. The heart does not wish for murder. Rule 2, you must not let anyone die. The heart does not want anyone to die. 3, you must not let anyone discover you. If we are discovered, we are dead. 4, no tactic is off limits. Not even a sly trick should be considered dirty. 5, the guy's rules mean nothing to us. Or the god's rules mean nothing to us. The heart doesn't give 2 shits about their bloody contest. Break any of these rules and you lose. The heart gains nothing from a victory where violence is a principle, which basically builds a foundation for what Tet creates. And his 10 are: all murder, war, and robbery is forbidden in this world. All conflict in this world will be resolved through games, which was number 2. Number 3, in games, each player will bet something that they agree is of equal value. 4, as long as it doesn't violate pledged 3, anything may be bet, and any game may be played. 5, the challenged party has the right to decide the rules of the game. 6, any bets made in accordance with the pledges must be upheld. 7, conflicts between groups will be conducted by designated representatives with absolute authority. 8, being caught cheating during a game is grounds for an instant loss. 9, in the name of God, the previous rules may never be changed. And 10, let's all have fun and play together.
Now, what's kind of interesting about those rules right there is all cheating is instant. What was that?
All cheating during a game, being caught cheating, not all cheating, but being caught cheating during a game is grounds for an instant loss. Doesn't say you can't cheat. It just says you can't be caught cheating. And it's the same thing with during the pledges. It's like no tactics off limits. Even a sly trick, it should not be considered dirty.
It's beautiful.
It is. I mean, it's really, really well played, and though the pledges or the rules really play well with each other, and you can tell that the 10 that were created were based off of the 6.
Yeah, it's 100%. So I think that kind of puts us. What would you say at being done? Like
I would say yeah. I just want to point out one more thing though, for when Shui dies. It was. Okay. I thought it was really tastefully done in that her marriage, because Riku and Shui did have a marriage and they did get married, which is why the stone that Stephanie Dola, she had, if you remember from the series, it was really important to her. The Dola from the past, Koroni, she actually had that stone, and she etched Riku's and Shuai's name in on the stone, making them a part of the family, which makes sense that all 3 of them are together again in the current day and age.
Yeah.
Also,
didn't even think of that.
When Shui dies, she puts a protective barrier, not over herself or heart or her head, but over the ring that Riku gave her.
Yeah, again, heartstrings, pulling at them.
That's just... I like the little detail that they did there too. You know, it just shows that even though she was a machine, she cared so much about the bond that she had with Riku that even when she's about to die, she cared deeply about that.
Yeah.
All right.
God, that's such a good movie.
Such a great movie. Well worth it. Glad I watched it again. Thank you, Cats, for giving the recommendation. Truly appreciate it.
I believe it's my turn. Oh, no, actually, we should do... I'm skipping ahead a little bit. I thought we might be able to forego it, but I stand corrected. We should give a number. I would say this one ranks for me 9.
All right.
9 in a scale for a movie. The animation was on point. I had the subtitles going along with the English dub, and I'm not disappointed. I enjoyed basically everything about it. So yeah, I'm gonna rock a solid 9. What about you?
I'm gonna rock a solid 9 myself, simply because I gotta agree. The only thing that I'm not happy with is that, you know, at the end it leads into like there possibly could be a season 2 maybe in the future, and that's the only thing that keeps me from giving it a perfect 10.
No, there will be a season 2. There's no option that there's not. So just saying.
Well, just I
can dream. I can dream.
All right. Well, you continue to dream. I will live in the sad reality that there is not. Yeah. And next week is your choice, sir.
Indeed it is. My choice is going to be an anime called Knights and Magic.
All right. I don't believe I've seen that one.
Good. I've been told really good things about it. I haven't seen it either.
Oh.
But it gives me hope.
Okay. Pulled it up here, and 13 episodes long, came out in 2017. It is an action fantasy mecha school for the genres. All right.
Oh, okay. I would have, from the synopsis I read, I would say isekai as well, but we'll see.
All right.
We can discuss that later.
Indeed. Well, that's all the time that we have for today. Thanks for checking us out. Feel free to reach out to us with your own recommendation, what you thought of any of the series that we have seen, or what your thoughts are for next week's episode. You can reach out to us at our Gmail at featuredanimepodcast@gmail.com. You can tweet at us at thoseanimeguys. We're even on Facebook, Featured Anime Podcast, and we even have a link for the Discord server that we're in. Also, feel free to leave a voicemail if you want. Until next time, I'm Jack.
And I'm Rick. And we'll see you later.